Hey, welcome back to Global Environment. On today's segment, we're going to talk about the limits to growth model that was done back in 1970s. And to kind of set this up, we're going to do a little bit of review. So the review we're going to do is basically the idea of science. What is science? So science is two things. We talked about this earlier in the course. It's a body of knowledge. It's all the stuff we've already figured out, all the stuff in those books. And it's also a method to find out new things. Okay, so when you think to yourself, why do we do science? Why do governments pay a lot of money for science? It's powerful because it's predictive. Okay? If you understand how things have happened in the past, you have some clue to what might happen in the future. Okay. So earlier in the course, we brought up the idea of Easter Island as maybe being a case study for the future. So we said we're all concerned about the environment for the future. How can we look at that, the future basically, in a scientific way? Well, one thing we could do is look for examples. There are a lot like the Earth as a whole, little bitty Earths, see how things play out, and that might give us some idea of what might happen in the future. So we looked at Easter Island. We talked about the society that came to be there, the Polynesian Society. Basically, they had a civilization that was able to build these big statues and stone temples, and it was very amazing. And on this little bitty island, you basically were able to see a microcosm of the whole Earth. But at the same time, what we saw was to create this society, they really depleted their environment. And this shot really shows it. 400 years later, major deforestation, soil erosion, and this advanced society ended up collapsing. And we put together the components of this society in a systems diagram to see how things interacted. And as you can see, basically we have humans coming to the island, clearing land, forest land, to create agriculture, but warfare broke out, population declined, they had problems with invasives. And what's interesting is you can take these components, really find numerical values, algebraic values for their interactions, and build computer programs for them. This shows a timeline of that island. Again, the Polynesians got to the island maybe around 400 AD, and what you saw was a decrease in forest resources, increased erosion, and increased population, and then right about the time that the Europeans got there, societal collapse, warfare, starvation, overshoot, and collapse of population. Now, we also brought up a different study, and we looked at this graph quickly. And earlier in the course, I talked about that there was a group of people called the Club of Rome. They were industrialists, business people, politicians, and scientists who got together and wanted to look at the entire Earth. Again, we want to do real science, so they built the Earth, basically, in a computer. They were able to build the Earth in a computer and study it. And what did they see? Again, it started around 1972. They ran it out for about 100 years. We're in here now. And this is the basic output. Natural resources decline, pollution goes up for a while, population overshoot and collapse. And we said, wow, this is really similar to what happened on Easter Island. So what we're going to do in the next segment is look more closely at the limits to growth model. How was it constructed, and what are the outputs from it? What does it really say? We're going to look into, instead of simplified results, the whole shebang, and we're going to see how that might apply to our present situation. So I'll see you next time on Global Environment.